What's up, wrestling fans? How are you all doing? My name is Aaron and this is Wrestling by Waldridge. If you're new here, welcome to the channel where in today's video I'll be discussing my top 5 wrestling matches of the week. Please give me a follow on Twitter at WrestlingByW and please leave a like, give it a share and subscribe. And we got another good week of wrestling which kicked off with Fastlane, which was a tale of two halves. It started off pretty slowly, but it got a lot better in the second half of the pay-per-view. And we also saw the return of the NWA, as well as all of the weekly shows from WWE, which built up WrestleMania weekend. Getting excited, guys! So, to kick things off at number 5, this was quite a tough choice, as we saw a lot of great matches throughout the week. But for me, it had to be Kenny Omega versus Matt Sydal from AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday night. And we saw a simple story here of Kenny Omega slowing the pace of the match down in order to counter Sydal's speed advantage and his aerial offense, whilst Omega targeted the upper back and the left shoulder of Sydal to set up the one-winged angel. And unsurprisingly, there was some fantastic athleticism on show, and I thought Omega and Sydal displayed great chemistry together. There was a really high work rate in this match, and even though the outcome of the match seemed a little predictable, we did see some extremely close near falls from Sydal. The best of which happened at the finish, where Sydal uses the top rope to counter the one-winged angel, only for Kenny to kick out just before the 3 count. However, before Sydal can react, Kenny hits a great looking V-trigger and then follows up with a one-winged angel for the victory. This was a great showing by both men here, and I definitely thought this was Sydal's best match to date in AEW. Rolling in at number 4, Will Ospreay versus David Finlay in a semi-final New Japan Cup match. And the story of the match portrayed David Finlay as the clear underdog against his more accomplished opponent in Will Ospreay. And I loved how the commentators mentioned that Finlay perhaps felt that he had a little bit more to prove, considering the success of his own tag team partner Juice Robinson, as well as his fellow LA Dojo trainee Jay White. And there was a solid structure to the match, as an early distraction from Bea Priestley allowed Will Ospreay to work the heat for an extended period of time, interrupted by a few good hope spots from David Finlay. And then after the halfway point, the story developed even further as Will Ospreay countered an acid drop from David Finlay by pushing him over the top rope onto the outside. Finlay tweaked his ankle on the landing and did a very good job of selling the ankle for the rest of the match. You then see Ospreay getting frustrated after not being able to put Finlay away, and this leads into a glorious sequence where we see Finlay counter an Ozcutter into a cutter of his own. Cutterception. We saw great reversals, effective near falls, and then we got a decent finish as Ospreay hits Finlay with a powerbomb, then rolls him through and hits a Stormbreaker for the 1-2-3. Will Ospreay progresses to the finals, but kudos to David Finlay, who had a great tournament, and hopefully he keeps his momentum up going forward. And coming up at number 3, Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre in a no-holds-barred match from WWE Fastlane. And as everyone expected, this was hard-hitting, it was physical, it was stiff. And the match tells a great story of two old friends taking out their frustrations on one another as Sheamus feels betrayed and left behind by Drew, who is obviously going on to the main event of WrestleMania to face Bobby Lashley, whilst Drew looked to put an end to his rivalry with Sheamus so that he could put 100% attention into his WrestleMania match. And it didn't take long for both men to take advantage of the match stipulation, as we saw loads of great weapon spots early on. The action then took us through the Thunderdome, which led to a great spot where Drew tosses Sheamus through the LED screens, which sets off an explosion. And in another great spot, Sheamus hits the white noise on Drew from the guardrail through the announce table. Drew's selling has become one of the strongest parts of his game in my opinion, and I thought both Drew and Sheamus did a fantastic job of selling the pain and the exhaustion from all of the action and the length of the match itself. And they even sold after the match had finished as well, in a great display of psychology. The finish then saw both men just slapping the taste out of each other's mouth before Sheamus tries to hit an Alabama slam, but Drew counters it, hits the Future Shock DDT, and then nails Sheamus with a Claymore for the victory. Drew wins. To be honest, I could just watch these boys wrestle all the time, as they just bring a sense of legitimacy to every single match that they have. And next up at number 2, Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship from WWE Fastlane, which also had Edge as the Special Enforcer. Don't know what a Special Enforcer does, but whatever. And the backstory heading into this match saw Daniel Bryan tell Roman on SmackDown that he would tap him out, and a confident Daniel Bryan instantly looks to prove himself correct, as he does a wrestle on Roman Reigns by attempting multiple submissions, targeting the neck and the left shoulder of Roman Reigns to set up the S-lock. However, Roman soon gains control of Bryan by using his power and strength advantage. There was lots of fun trash talking in this match, and just the level of storytelling, psychology and facial expressions on show by both men was absolutely sublime. And a shout out to Paul Heyman as well, as his reactions to everything going on in the match were fantastic. And I also enjoyed how Roman's aggression grew every time after Daniel Bryan either kicked out of a pinfall or got out of a submission or put Roman in a submission. And then the match just heads into overload as Daniel Bryan inadvertently hits the referee with the running knee. Roman then takes advantage by hitting the spear on Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan kicks out at 2 as Edge took the ref's place to count the pin. We saw Jey Uso interfere, and then we saw Daniel Bryan accidentally hit Edge with a chair, and then we saw the culmination of the story of the match when Daniel Bryan makes Roman tap out, but there's no one to see it, so Roman doesn't lose. The finish then sees Edge recover, hits both men with a chair, Daniel Bryan twice, a new referee runs down to the ring, and Roman Reigns pins Daniel Bryan for the win. This was a fantastic match by two wrestlers who are absolutely on top of their game at the minute, and I can't wait for the match at WrestleMania that all three men have. And for my match of the week, Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi in the finals of the New Japan Cup. And Shingo comes out wielding a samurai sword, looking like a complete badass. The story in this match saw both wrestlers target each other's respective injuries that they'd picked up from the rest of the tournament. So Shingo's back and Will Ospreay's injured nose and his left arm, which also doubles up as great psychology used by both men. Speaking of which, both men did a great job selling each other's offense as well as their injuries in the match. Especially Shingo, who for my money at the minute is one of the absolute best in the world in terms of his psychology. And there were some fantastic sequences in the match, such as an amazing counter by Will Ospreay as he uses the momentum from Shingo's pumping bomber to flip over, then hits an Oz cutter on Shingo for a great 2 count. We saw a super Oz cutter on the outside of the ring, and then we saw Ospreay hit a massive 450 splash onto Shingo through a table which was set up on the outside of the ring. And it was really interesting to see Shingo's resilience bring out Will Ospreay's aerial offense, which we don't really get to see very often. And this led into a strong finish where we saw Will use the hidden blade on Shingo, which he hasn't used for the entire tournament. He then follows up with a Stormbreaker for the victory, and Will Ospreay wins the New Japan Cup for the first time in his career. And as for the controversial post-match shenanigans, where Will Ospreay hits a cutter on B. Priestley, I won't go into it too much, but I do feel that it was a little bit unnecessary, to be honest. And that is my list. As always guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, what your favourite matches of the week were. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know and we can have a good old chat about it. And we don't have any pay-per-views next week, so I'll just be watching all of the weekly shows. I'm currently 3 subscribers away from my first goal of reaching 25 subscribers, and any help would be massively appreciated. I hope you all have a great day guys, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.